Hello and welcome to Winnipeg Paracon 2013.
Hi, my name is Glen Ferguson from the Canadian Paranormal Society. I'm standing in the Churchill dining room at the Marlborough Hotel in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I have fellow historian and guest speaker Chris Rutkowski, who's going to interview the event coordinator Grace Rentz. Over to you, Chris.
Let's start. Could you introduce yourself and where we are?
Yes, my name is Grace Rentz, and I've been with the hotel since 2008 as a sales manager, and I love it here. I love the 100-year-old history of the hotel and the unique rooms and what we have to offer to sell them for meetings or weddings or whatever, different sized rooms. We are in the Churchill's room. This is the 1914 original dining room of the hotel.
That's like you were saying, literally 100 years ago.
It's going to be 100 years old on November 18th of 2014.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it has a rich history. Now, you were explaining at one point some of what's going on in some of the 8th and 9th floors. Like there's the elevators. How old is the elevator? Is it an original elevator? Or
the original shafts. Original shafts are, because at one point I guess they were the hand pull the doors down, right, and the old metal crank, and there was an actual attendant in there. The history of this hotel, it was first built, it had 3 stories.
Okay.
And then in 1920s, I think it was, they added 5 more.
Okay.
And you could see it outside with the different terracotta and stuff that was added to it. And then there was 4 more added. So you now have 9 floors on the original hotel side.
Right.
And then 8 floors on the additional one that was added in the 60s.
Now somebody lived up on the 9th floor. The
ninth floor was originally a penthouse, and it was rented out at one point to Mrs. Leckie, Claire Leckie, and she ran the food and beverage department for the hotel at that time.
What was she like?
From stories that I've heard, she was cranky and grumpy. And she was always seen in this room, down here in the Churchill's room, which is the dining room of the hotel back then, smoking cigarettes in the dark and just watching staff and whatnot, and wearing a velour muumuu at the time, and sitting here after hours smoking or at night.
Boss from hell is what you're telling me.
That's what the stories were.
Okay.
She did not do a very good job managing food and beverage for the hotel, and was asked to leave in I think it was in the 60s, with her baby white grand piano, owed the hotel owner at that time monies, and so that's where all the hutches in the hotel come from, and they're spread around the hotel. So they're quite old.
And now, since then, people have thought that they have heard her or something. What about the pianos? There's a story about people hearing the pianos. You've heard the piano.
Yeah, I've heard the piano. When I first started here, I thought there was something wrong with the Fashion Mall elevators that go up to the 9th floor. The other ones only go to the 8th floor. Those elevators, I would take them because there's less hotel guests using them, so I thought, well, I'll just use these ones. The Fashion Side Mall, we rent that as low rental office space.
Okay.
So there's tenants in there, and then there's some long-term stays in there too, like a long-term monthly hotel stay.
Yeah.
We do have bedrooms in there, so it's a quiet area, not used very often, and it's locked up in the evening after 5 o'clock. And that elevator I would take, and one morning when I first started here, the elevator, I pressed 3 where the office is where I work, and it didn't stop on 3. It took me up to 9, it opened up, and I heard piano music.
So it's
and
you were taking it up, and you were taking it to 3. But
yeah,
it
I
didn't
pressed
stop
3.
on 3.
It didn't stop on 3.
Okay.
It just took me right up to 9.
Up to 9.
Yeah.
Where there shouldn't be anybody.
There wasn't anybody up there.
Okay.
It was a quiet. There was no. We rent that out to as meeting space,
Right.
and there was nothing booked at that
And
day.
you heard piano music.
The doors opened, and I heard piano music, and I assumed it was the built-in PA system with like a music background that we have in there.
Makes sense, right.
And so anyway, I didn't say too much about it, and then a few more times when I'd been going to different floors in the hotel or back to the 3rd floor, it would do it again where they would take me up to 9 for no reason, and doors would open and then they would just close. I asked the maintenance department, I said to the maintenance department, I think there's something wrong with the elevators on the Fashion Mall side, and I explained it's not just one of them, it's both. There's 2. Either one that I'm in, this has happened to me, and I was told that by other staff and by the maintenance department that they've been told it happens to just about everybody.
So
everybody's aware of these elevators.
And is this like an effect of a ghost or somebody?
That's what they think it is, because Otis checks those elevators. There's nothing wrong with them. There's no rhyme or reason why it wouldn't stop on 3 or 5 or whatever floor you're going to. It just takes you up to 9. And
the revenge of the grumpy ghost.
Could be, or she just wants to say hello. Maybe she was really a nice, kind lady, and she just wants company.
Now, you had mentioned that you heard the piano music and you thought it was the piped-in.
Yeah, and I was told that that's always shut off unless it's being asked to be turned on to use. So
it couldn't have been that in that situation.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been on.
So there's no reason why you should have heard that piano music.
No. When there's no functions booked up there, there's nobody up there. There's no reason for anybody to be up there. The only person I've ever seen up there, if I've gone up there to check it, to maybe see how clean it is, to do a site visit with someone, I'll pre-check the rooms. On occasion, I've ran into our pest control person that's, he's around the hotel and all the stairwells. There are a lot of stairwells off of number 9 floor. There's 1, 2, 3. 3 separate stairwells that are locked, unless we unlock them.
Now, what about some of the other things that people have heard or experienced in some of the other rooms? What about down in the press club or the former press club?
The press club, I don't know if I've heard any stories of actual haunting type stories in there. Just that we know when we did a history on the hotel that it was said that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle stayed at the hotel and he did a seance in that room in 1921. Whether it was successful or not, I don't know. Right. But that was the history that we dug up.
Okay. What about, there's a story that there was a murder here in the hotel.
In the 60s, there was a murder on the 5th floor in one of the bedrooms, and that was a young lady, 16-year-old, she worked at the original Ray and Jerry's. I don't know, have her name on the top of my head. It's in that stuff that I gave you. And she was murdered by her boyfriend at the time. He was someone that was from a well-to-do family in England that was kind of told by the family he was a not so nice person. Go live in Canada.
Black sheep.
Yes, go live in Canada. And he was, they called him Wordless something. And again, the names are in that stuff. And he was convicted and hung in the Headingley gallows or something like that.
Now, have people heard things up on the 5th floor or anything associated with that?
We have heard, again, just stories that you hear from staff, different staff of a guest wanting to check out of the hotel because a young female ghostly figure type of thing crawled into their bed.
Really?
Yes.
On which floor?
On the 5th or on the 3rd or something. Or, we have bedrooms that run from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So those are floors of bedrooms.
Right.
And the same thing on the Fashion Mall. It goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Sure.
All right.
So people said that something crawled into bed with them.
Yeah, and they would freak out. And so I've heard those kind of stories, but I'm not from the people themselves.
What's the best story that you've heard? Either the best, or the most interesting, or the most reliable, and maybe it's...
Well, the one that happened to me on the 9th floor. The one that happened to me when I had booked a wedding up there, and I went and checked around 4:30 in the afternoon on the setup, and there was a guest book table, 8-foot setup in the lobby, skirted,
With
very secure.
skirting, yeah.
Tablecloth and tacked down with skirting, very secure. And then I was going back downstairs to come up again later on and check on things. And as I was waiting for the elevator, my left peripheral vision literally seen that skirting torn off. Like it was just ripped right down from around the whole table. It didn't just fall. I've seen skirting fall and come loose. Been doing this for many years. It scared me enough that like I was hitting that button pretty quick, and then I just went, I'm just running down the stairs. So I ran down the stairs and went to get banquet staff to go fix it. Didn't tell them why it fell off or what I thought I seen. I didn't want to scare them because they may know what to go up there to work. Sure. And I did check on the rooms throughout that night, and there were no instances reported. So maybe I just take it as her way of saying, thank you, it's nice to see the room being used. I'm here, yeah. Okay. So that's the way I looked at that, because nothing bad ever happened from any of these things. So
I'd just like to clarify some names and dates at this point. A murder was actually committed at the Marlborough Hotel. Grace Edith Cook, a fun-loving 16-year-old waitress at the old downtown location of Ray and Jerry's, was strangled to death in her room number 503 on December the 4th, 1943, by her boyfriend Albert Victor Westgate, known as Wordless Westgate. Westgate, apparently a very odd and very quiet Englishman and veteran of the Great War, had been sent off to the colonies by his well-to-do English family. He had previously served 14 years in prison for the murder of another girlfriend in the back seat of a car on South Drive in Fort Garry. So this second murder became an infamous crime. In both trials, his family had arranged for him to be defended by prominent Winnipeg lawyer Sir Charles Tupper. Although convicted and sentenced to death for the first time, his sentence had been commuted to life in prison by the Federal Minister of Justice, following a petition for clemency from war veterans. Finally, in July 1944, having been found guilty a second time, Westgate went to the gallows at Headingley Jail and is buried in the military section at Brookside Cemetery. The sentence was carried out by world-renowned executioner John Ellis. To this day, some say Edith Cook's ghost still haunts the hotel, watching over the female guests and keeping the male guests in line.
Later shut down at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And like I said, old bedrooms that are converted into office space.
Yeah.
The offices still have the original thing up on top, and the framing. It's all the same.
And people are living long-term in these rooms?
We have some long-term. I don't know how many are on the 5th floor. And then, so what I've been told is that this area in here had a doorway that was covered over. The office is used behind it, but the original bedroom that the murder took place is, the doorway is gone. Yeah. That's what I've been told.
Okay. So this is the 5th floor.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, ready? Okay, ready?
Yep. So this is the press club, or original room of the hotel from 1914. A basement room that was used for many different things. Over every owner changed it into something else. For a long, long time it was the press club.
This is the original brick.
Original brickwork done, and we have, you can see when the press club was known for hundreds of reporters being in here smoking drinking and smoking. So when some renovations were done in here, you can actually see the original color of the brick that was covered up and then not exposed to all the smoke. So it's really interesting. Yeah,
So
yeah.
It's seen a lot of
Smoke.
A lot of work.
Yeah, yeah. I know the beams are original in here. The brick is original in here.
So this is where Conan Doyle had
A seance.
He met the media, and I think he actually did a seance.
He did a
here.
seance in here. We did history of that.
Right
I would
here.
think it would be right in here where the original mantle was and everything. And
I remember the fireplace.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this would have been what, 21?
1921 is what we dug up on that. Yeah. Yeah, very interesting. Lots of old grates and
Okay.
and again, over the years, what it originally looked like back then, we haven't found any pictures as of yet.
Right.
Again, so many owners have owned this hotel since the 1914 that who knows what they took home and kept, right?
Jack Wells.
Jack Wells, those were the reporters' names, and that was from the press club days.
Jack Wells.
I remember the name very well myself.
Yeah. In fact, I may just take a photo myself of
Sure. And I know that this room was the original press club for many, many years, and then a new owner took over the hotel, and I think this was turned into Victor's. It was like a lounge nightclub type of area.
Yeah.
And the press club was moved upstairs to the Oxford Hall, which was the original tea room of the hotel, and I can definitely show you that room.
Okay.
So we put a bar up there, or they put a bar up there, and crammed the reporters all into that room, which is quite small.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
In March of 1921, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, creator of Sherlock Holmes, was a guest in the hotel. He was a poet as well as a fiction writer, and was presenting poetry readings at the Walker Theatre across the street. He was also a spiritualist, as were old acquaintances of his, the Sifton family, publishers of the Winnipeg Free Press, originally from England. A member of the family, along with several other people, joined him, it is believed, in this very room, for a séance. Unfortunately, it is not known whom they were trying to contact, nor whether or not they were successful.
Now, I don't think we actually talked while we were here about the policeman while we were filming. So let's just do that, and then we'll do the finishing.
Okay.
So now I understand at one time, now of course the Marlborough is a great place to have a wedding in. We saw the Skyview Ballroom. There's some wonderful spaces here. And I understand that there was not that long ago a policeman who was getting married to a wonderful woman, and he saw and heard something very strange. What was that story?
Yeah, when I booked the wedding for them, they came to me and they were interested in the history of the hotel and is it haunted like the Fort Garry? And
He wanted to know about
he wanted to know about the hauntings. So I told him what little I knew about Mrs. Leckie and the elevators and the piano music and whatnot. And it was really odd is that when I would have them here for site visits on check, how we were going to set up their room and do whatnot, they would come in and see me 7, 8 o'clock at night in the evening, and we would be up on the 8th floor in the Skyview area, and the 9th floor elevators are now shut down at this time. They're shut down at 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. Mm-hmm. And the elevator has a very distinct loud ding, and the red light showing that it's either coming down from the 9th floor or it's green going up. Okay. And it would always be dinging and coming down from the 9th floor with the red light. Nobody in it, the doors would open and then they would close. And this was going on every time this gentleman and his bride-to-be were with me, the elevators acted up on the 9th floor. At one point we were in there and he was snooping around the lobby area, and it happened, and he came tearing into the Skyview Ballroom, and he was like, "Are we done? Can we go?" And I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "Did you see that elevator came down?" And I said, "Yeah, I did. I seen it and I heard it." And he said, "Did you feel the cold air?" And I said, "No, I didn't feel the cold air."
So this was a policeman.
This is a policeman
who saw the elevator doors open and hear the ding of something coming down.
Seen the red light.
Nobody there. And he felt this.
And he felt cold air. And it was in the winter, so and that room, that floor is very hot and heated in the winter, so it was a little odd.
Okay, that's a strange one. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for having us in here to look around the Marlborough.
Well, you're more than welcome.
I appreciate its historical value for the city of
Winnipeg
and for all of Canada. and to share some of the stories.
Yeah, I love to. It's like I said, it's a beautiful hotel, and I'm sure there's, if these walls could talk.
If these walls could talk.